So I was at the ball. I checked my phone just on the off chance, really, at about 11:30, and I had loads of missed calls on my phone. So obviously I panicked and kind of went outside because it was loud. And as I went outside, his friend called me off of his phone and told me what had happened. I didn't believe him. I put the phone down because I didn't believe him.
On the 10th of June last year, Mikey Roynan came to a girl's 16th birthday party on this street in Bath, but never went home. He was fatally stabbed in the neck after an argument broke out between two groups of boys and was dead in minutes.
I can remember falling on the floor. I was sick outside. I don't know, it felt like the world was black. Like I didn't go out the house for about 5 weeks at all. Yeah, it didn't feel real. It still doesn't feel real.
His story is just one of many young people who have recently lost their lives across Avon and Somerset. In recent weeks and months, we've had funerals for Max Dixon and Mason Rist, who died in Knoll West, a court case on the murder of Ben Moncrief in Bath, and appeals for who stabbed Eddie Knuthia in St Paul's. The latest figures show 13 people were killed across Avon and Somerset in 2023, and 4 more people have lost their lives on Bristol streets so far this year. So for the next few minutes, we're exploring why this is happening and what's being done about it.
Give you a shout, yeah?
Terrell grew up in Bristol, surrounded by crime. He had his first run-in with the police at just 9 years old when he was taken on a burglary. Now 38, he mentors young people either in prison or at risk of being sent there to get them to change their ways. We met at Big Academy, a youth centre in St Paul's.
I've seen a huge value in what lived experience can bring to the social field. As a young teen, you aspire to have the things other people have without the resources. So you recognise what a resource looks like. Whether that's people, whether that's drugs, whether that's using your physicality, your approach to things in terms of taking, robberies with weapons, all sorts of things, to tell you the honest truth. Everything financially motivated. And I think I'm seeing a difference now is, in terms of the violence, what we see now, it's not as financially motivated. There is obviously that element there, but it's not financially motivated. So that sort of raises a lot of concerns for me in terms of what's the trigger for people nowadays. Most of the young people I meet, speaking about myself, enjoyed school, done well, good communicators, all this sort of stuff, but quickly became disenfranchised with how they felt and how I felt misplaced. It's value placement. If I don't feel a level of self-worth in myself, in the area, why should I feel for someone else's self-worth? Why should I feel for someone else's safety?
Boasting music studios, a gym and a barber's room to teach people hairdressing, it's hoped this place will encourage kids off the streets before they commit any serious crime. Speaking exclusively to us, Lewis explained why he used to carry a knife.
Why was I doing it? What was the point? Yeah, I just wanted to fit in with the crowd, to be fair. I just wanted to be like everyone else and get all the respect. I would have used it, but then I would have regretted it later, though, because that person would not have been worth my time in jail.
All too often, innocent people get caught up in it all. Not his real name, Ben lives in a hot spot of West Country knife crime and tells us what it's like. We've voiced his words over fears he'll be targeted for speaking out.
Round here, a lot of people carry these days a weapon on them. It's really alarming round here, especially for the young generation coming up, because when they leave the house and go and play in the park, all they'll find is drugs or a drug dealer down there. One day I'm walking past the pharmacy and I'm coming to the kebab shop. There's a man there like this. He came out from the side road running and there's 2 men running after him. They got him just after the kebab shop.
So what can be done about it? Mike Vass from Avon and Somerset Police leads their response to knife crime. He says he'd like to see changes to stop and search laws.
That legislation and those legal powers were brought in many, many years ago, and they were brought in for purposes such as preventing and tackling inquisitive crime or public order, where there was going to be potential for damage to property, injury to people. But they're old pieces of legislation. None of them were designed to react to an emerging problem with serious violence or knife crime, and then how the community want us to behave as a police agency in their area. What would be great to see is new legislation and new powers that are new and bespoke to reaction to that. So an example would be an area, a community has concerns around an individual or number of individuals that are carrying knives, are engaged in criminal activity with that weapon or weapons like it, currently doing that. That's then where it's difficult with the current legislation that we've got that's historically quite old, as to then how we effectively use some traditional type policing powers, such as searching people, without causing further longer term damage to trust and confidence.
With a general election expected before the end of the year, our political parties are weighing in with what they would do. Labour's Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper recently visited Bristol to meet anti-knife crime campaigners to ask how they could achieve their pledge to halve knife crime in 10 years if they win power. The answer was hyper-local action in the communities. Martin Bisp from Empire Fighting Chance says we should follow Colombia's lead after the death of Pablo Escobar.
But what they did is they took all the investment into communities. They built the nicest buildings in the poorest communities. They built libraries, they built education centres, they built early learning centres, they built sports facilities. So what they tried to do is put back into the community and empower people and show them that they were worth something, they could achieve something.
We know that that is not easy. We know that that is going to involve a huge amount of work, and there aren't quick fixes, but it's so important that we have to do this, and that's why it is a mission. It's something that is central to the work we want to do in government.
In the immediate future, there's concern the improving weather will encourage more people out and therefore spark more incidents. But in the long term, there's all sorts of people working to end this crisis. We're going to be making an announcement on what we're doing in the coming days.
If everybody keeps doing it, it's just going to become the norm to be losing your friends, your family, the people that you love. It doesn't just affect the person's life that gets killed, it affects everybody's life around them. I've had a year of hell, and actually if the older generation that might be carrying knives now can look at it and think, we don't need to do this, that is not cool anymore, then the next generation will stop. It won't be a thing, but it's got to start somewhere.